Welcome to Barn Banter by Horse Illustrated, a podcast with something for all horse lovers. I'm Raquel Lynn from Los Angeles. You might know me from my blogs, Horses and Heels or Stable Style.
And I'm Susan Friedland from Saddle Seeks Horse. Raquel and I grew up reading Horse Illustrated magazine and riding as much as possible.
Today, we both write for the magazine and are friends in real life.
Join us each month as we do one of our favorite things, talk about horses and the horse lifestyle.
Happy New Year. Hey, Raquel, we're back and it's a new year.
Yeah, welcome to 2023.
I can't even believe it. Where does the time go? So crazy. But at the start of the new year, I know a lot of people think about goal setting. And often people think about setting up some really good health habits for a new year. And we are going to have two guests, which you'll hear about in a minute, that are related to those themes. But first, I want to know, Raquel, you are a very goal-oriented person, and I would love to hear some of the things you are going after this year.
Yeah, so I love this topic. I'm a huge goal person. It doesn't even matter if it's June or July. Every month I do monthly goals. So I think for me, there's just, in general, there's been a lot of growth and I want to keep doing that just, with my horse and my business. And I also want to be better about slowing down and taking more breaks. So I would definitely say that that's a goal of mine, is just to, take in some of those celebratory moments and remember to savor them. Susan, what are some of your goals for this year?
Well, one of the goals I have for 2023 is to learn how to be a better breather.
Love that.
I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I'm reading a book right now called Breath. And I have a nephew who is kind of a high performance athlete. And he has another book that is about breathing techniques. And long story short, I took part in this online dressage training, and the woman was talking about using breath as a riding aid. And so that kind of started me thinking. And so I am convinced that I can be a better breather, and it would probably help me, not just with riding, but also in daily life. And of course, I want to eat more vegetables in 2020.
Always. Well, I love that. Today, we celebrate the new year and talk about setting goals, balancing a career, being a new mom, and dressage with equine influencer Taryn Young of Warm Bloods and Wine. Then we'll chat with Natalie Gavi, the founder of Gavi Nutrition, about healthy eating habits, followed by our ASPCA Right Horse Adoptable Horse of the Month. I'm a designer, a stunning saddlebred. Our first guest, Taryn Young, is a VP of Marketing by day, a new mom, and avid equestrian by nights and weekends. She is also the equestrian influencer behind the account Warm Bloods and Wine, and recently launched a new equestrian clothing line, Novella Equestrian. Taryn is a competitive dressage rider and has earned her USDF bronze and silver medals. She shares her equestrian journey with her heart horse, Rain Dance, on Instagram. I'm so excited to be chatting with Taryn today. I've been following her for a really long time on Instagram, and she does such an amazing job engaging with her followers and sharing her barn life with us.
Taryn is a total sweetheart. I've had a chance to actually meet her and see one of her horses, Rain. And so I'm excited to have a chance to get to chat with her too. I think listeners are going to love her.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Taryn.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Happy 2023. It sounds crazy to say.
I know. I feel like we could talk to you for hours because I've been following you for such a long time and I feel like I know you. But one of the things I love about you is just how positive and honest and real you keep it on Instagram. And you have a lot of hats that you're constantly wearing. So let's kind of just dive in with how you balance your riding schedule and just having a job and also being a new mom right now.
Yeah. So it is a lot, but I've always been one of those people that more is better. Like I hate sitting around and being bored. So the more ways I can stay active is definitely like a goal of mine and what makes me happy. So obviously I work full time, but I've found roles over the years where remote work is possible, and being in the equestrian world is manageable. So definitely lucky for a nice flexible schedule. I currently work from home, which has allowed me to do so much more as a new mom, especially because I can see the baby in and out during the day while I'm taking meetings and everything else. But then also spend time at the barn early morning or late at night and feel like I'm not missing any part of my day or my kind of routine that makes me happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's nice to have that flexibility.
Absolutely.
And how has the transition into motherhood been for you? Because I know there's a lot of people who are new moms and, it's hard to do it all. So tell me like what that has been like, because you're still riding and, you rode like basically a lot of your pregnancy too, right?
Yeah, up until the day I delivered. And so I'll be totally candid about pregnancy and becoming a mom. I did not think it was something for me for a very long time. And so if you've been following me for a long time, you probably know I'm in my mid 30s. I just turned 35. And so for a lot of my life to have my career, the horse thing, and all of that, it was just not manageable to do it all. I really don't think it was. And these past couple of years, again, the market has shifted. I'm working from home. I'm not traveling full time, like I was once before. And it was something that I started thinking about later in life when I finally felt ready. And I know everyone says you're never ready, but I kind of felt like I could manage it. And so it's been the most rewarding experience of my life, honestly. And I would have probably gasped and said, ew, like literally probably 5 years ago, if you would have told me, I'd be saying that, which is so funny. So again, it's been the most rewarding just to raise a little baby. And he's such a good kid. And I think that's why it's been an easier transition than I thought. I think I really prepped myself for maybe being away from horses and my career for a little bit, but it's been manageable to do it all, which I know I'm extremely lucky to say that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think you put a lot of thought into it. And, it looks like you're doing a great job of, still going to shows and, having that family time, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm crazy and people call me crazy and I totally am aware of that. But I think I always have goals for myself. I really think ahead of time, like, okay, 2023, what do I want to accomplish this year? And I've always done that, whether it's personal life, my career, in the equestrian world. And again, that's what makes me fulfilled and happy. And I think too, with my account, so many people this resonated with, I want to become a mom, but I don't think I can balance it all. And again, that was something that I toyed with for so long in my head. And I didn't think it was possible. But again, I have such a support system and I share about that all the time. And so a lot of women have kind of reached out to me and we connect on this subject and this new role of mine.
That's amazing. Now, speaking of goals, can you tell us a little bit about, your horses and some of your riding goals for 2023? I'm hoping we're going to see some more Geo.
So Geo just got started and that has been so awesome. The past couple of weeks have been absolutely crazy, with the holidays and everything. So I was able to start riding Geo and I kind of just kept it under wraps because it was just too much to manage posting all the, I get a million comments when I post about Geo or any of them for that matter. So I always like to respond to everyone and I just knew I wouldn't have the time to do that. So I wanted his big moment. And that came a couple days ago on my birthday, which was December 27th. And so Geo is kind of my focus. Obviously, Rain is like the OG and everyone loves him so much.
Yeah.
And he is far exceeding what I ever thought was possible. So at this point, I thought he'd be like shareboarded to like a junior rider doing young riders or something, but I can't quit. Like he is exceeding everything. He's training up Grand Prix movements. And it's like, what if this is possible? What if we could get there, you know? And I don't want to sound greedy, but I just can't quit on him. So Rain, honestly, we showed, you know, I won this past year and we went to nationals and we're successful. We had kind of a mixed bag where one day it was not so great and the next day it was redemption, and that's horses. And I share all of that with you guys, but Geo is the focus because he's the baby, and it's refreshing to get back to a young horse because they're so different and they're so innocent, and every single ride you just want to create a positive environment. And he is like far exceeding what I thought he would be just 90 days under saddle. So I'm lucky to give him a good start with a good trainer who specializes in young horses. So you'll definitely be seeing more of him under saddle for sure in 2023. And then Valentina is my mom's rescue horse, and she's perfect as always. So you'll continue to see her as well.
That's awesome.
I know that, I've followed you for a while and I've had the pleasure of meeting you a couple times, but for listeners who are not familiar with Warm Bloods and Wine and aren't aware of your horses, maybe just give us a little rundown: breed, color, age, personality, or something so they can sort of visualize it a little more.
Yeah. So Warm Bloods and Wine was started with Rain. So he is my 11-year-old warm blood. He's not registered because I think I've just been too lazy to do that all. And I know he's not going anywhere or being sold. So 11-year-old warm blood, I got him when he was like 4.5. And thank God ignorance is bliss. And he was a good boy because it was like the blind leading the blind. But we've now trained him up and he's like nationally ranked and all of that to I1, which is like 2 levels under Grand Prix, which is Olympic level, which is so awesome for him. Valentina came into the picture a few years ago. My mom wanted a horse she wanted to rescue, and she is a little Frisian mare who is just like the sweetest thing in the entire world. And she has just been a little bit trained up the past couple of years and just so cute, safe. You could take her on trails bareback. Like, she's so cute. And then Geo is the newest addition. And about 2 years ago, my mom and I actually said, we kind of want to invest in a young horse and see what happens and have some fun. So her and I are partners on him, and he just got started under saddle. We gave him a little bit more time to mature. So he is 3 turning 4 this spring, and 90 days under saddle and going strong. So we'll work with him every day in some form or shape, the next months and years. So excited to see where he's going. He's got the best breeding out of all of them. So it's exciting because he's bred for the sport of dressage. Yeah. And again, with that comes good gaits and the brain and everything else. So excited to see where he ends up.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Now, going back to working, you obviously full-time work and going back and forth with 3 horses, but you also have some other ventures. You have an Etsy shop and you have a new equestrian clothing line, Novella Equestrian. So can you tell us a little bit about those?
Sure. So my real job is I'm a VP of marketing for an auto tech company. I've always been in the automotive space. So normally on the agency side, I've been on the OEM side, and then now on the auto vendor side. So that's super rewarding. It's a smaller company that is just blowing up. And it's so exciting to see all the growth that has happened the past 2 years I've been with them. My Etsy shop was kind of like something that happened naturally on Warm Bloods because I kept finding all of these really cute pieces and wanting to offer them to people. And so I started the shop a couple years ago, and it's just kind of like a little well-oiled machine now. And then back during COVID, I felt like job uncertainty, it was kind of a scary time. And so I thought, I model and represent all these brands and affiliations with all of these equestrian brands all over the place. Like, why wouldn't I do my own based off of like fabric, fit, everything else? So Novella was thought up, and it took a while to get that off the ground. There's a lot that goes into it, and of course, as a first time, I guess, fashion designer and manufacturer, there were a lot of pieces that needed to be ironed out, but got that up and running, sat on these shirts for a while. They were literally in my house. And my husband was like, Taryn, you could be so successful at this. These are awesome. You just need to go out there. So I created the website, I did everything, and I do it all myself, fulfillment, designing, like all of it. And so again, it's been a learning experience, but it's been so fulfilling, especially seeing so many people support it and love them. I walk into the barn like every day and someone has a shirt on, or at a horse show. So it's just really cool. So I'm hoping it continues to trend where it's going, and how the support has been coming in. And so that's the newest venture, and it's just kind of a passion project of mine.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the shirts are super cute. And I think it's just like a natural fit for you and your brand. Like you're saying, you're always, doing the outfit posts. So why not, include your own?
Exactly.
That's perfect. Now, last thing, what are some tips for other people that you could give them about setting goals, since you're so good at that?
Yeah, I think goals, it just goes into positive mindset. So like if you go on my account, I think sometimes people mistake positivity for perfection. And it's not like I'm trying to be perfect or, set this amazing example of all the horses, but just a positive mindset. Because if you want to be happy, you have to choose to be happy. And that's kind of like my mantra. I think anywhere we go, we can find negativity in anything. You turn on the TV, you turn on social media. So I've created a place where people can go to my, accounts and find fun horse content, positive, uplifting content. So it can kind of turn people's day around. And I can't tell you how many people message me and say, you've made me get in the saddle again after 20-year hiatus, or after kids, or things like this. Thanks for posting and educating, and your followers are so passionate, which is nice. And that goes into goal setting. It's like, okay, let's be realistic, but let's have a positive mindset going into it. Like, what can we achieve this year that will make me feel fulfilled and have gratitude? And so that's what I always try to do on my accounts, but also in my personal life. And again, I show the highlights, and no life is perfect. People go through so much, but I want it to be a positive, uplifting place where we all share success and cheer each other on. So I would say that goes into goals. So sit down and really think about it. And that's what I do again with personal, career, and equestrian goals going into each new year, really, and evaluating as checkpoints throughout the year, which I think Warm Bloods and Wine, it's easy because I can go back and see all my posts and say, oh yeah, we did that, or we achieved that. And so it's kind of like my diary as I move through my equestrian life on goal, setting and keeping and achieving.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's perfect. And thank you so much for being here with us today. For those of you who don't know Taryn, can you tell us where they can find you on Instagram?
Yeah, so Instagram is Warm Bloods and Wine. And then we have Novella EQ, so Novella Eck. And then Warm Bloods and Wine Etsy shop is in the bio, as well as Novella's link. So
perfect.
That's where you can find me.
And we're going to include all of those links for you in our show notes, so you guys can click on them and make sure you follow along with Taryn. But thank you so much for being here with us today, and Happy New Year.
Thank you guys so much. I feel like I'm catching up with friends because social media has like literally introduced us all, and it's such a good community. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's great talking to you today, Taryn.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
With unrivaled performance and breakthrough equine technology, Exhibitor's color enhancing system is pH balanced, contains no harsh chemicals, bleaches, or dyes, and intensifies your horse's natural coat color, coat contrast, and shine. Champion dressage trainer and international Grand Prix rider Kim Gentry says, "The quick shampoo and quick conditioner are amazing. The formula is very low sudsing, and with very little effort, it pulled the dirt and grime off my horse's coats without having to do a lot of scrubbing. The thing I'm really impressed with is how soft it leaves the horse's mane and tail. For professional showring results, Exhibitor's formulas clean and maintain the magnificence of your show horse."
Natalie Gavi is a nationally recognized non-diet nutrition expert who is passionate about the power that food plays in physical and mental health, as well as athletic performance. She received her bachelor's degree in nutrition science from the University of Illinois at Chicago and her master's degree in nutrition from Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, where she also began working as a registered dietitian nutritionist. A lifelong equestrian, Natalie combined her two passions and opened a private practice, Gavi Equestrian, where she specializes in working with equestrian athletes. Currently residing in Los Angeles, Natalie works at both UCLA and in her private practice. She enjoys spending quality time with her off-track thoroughbred Stella, exploring the food scene, beaches, and mountains around Los Angeles. Hey, Natalie. So I just have to ask you, what is a non-diet nutrition expert? You have my curiosity piqued.
That is a great question. So essentially, my role is to, instead of focusing on rules and restriction and a very ritualistic way of approaching nutrition, I like to help clients and riders learn how to listen to their bodies in order to guide their eating and reconnect with their bodies. So essentially, turning down external rules, external factors that may play into people's food choices, and turning up the volume on internal cues instead, like hunger, satisfaction, fullness, things like that.
All right, cool. We're going to dive into that in a little bit, but I want to hear also about your off-track thoroughbred, because I have an off-track thoroughbred too. So tell us a little bit about your horsey background and the horse you ride now.
Yeah. So, I grew up outside of Chicago. I started riding when I was about 13. It would have been a lot sooner, but I didn't come from a horsey background. So it took years and years of daily begging my parents to let me take my first lesson. And once I did, I was hooked like many other people. From there, spent a lot of my time as a working student in exchange for rides, showing. I was always the kid who was given the quote unquote naughty ponies to ride. And I always been drawn to that. So I guess fast forward, into adulthood, I had to take a little bit of time away from horses in my undergrad years because I went to school in the city. So just the proximity of any barn made it really difficult to continue to ride consistently. And I ended up moving out to Portland, Oregon for grad school. So before moving out there, I didn't realize how much of horse country it really was. And within a month, I found my trainer. I started leasing Stella, who I now own, and really kind of got back into riding and showing. I ended up moving up to the ranch and tried to just, I guess, make up for lost time. But so that was, I don't even remember how long ago it was, but I've had Stella between leasing and owning for about 8 years now. So she's with me in Los Angeles currently. I moved here about 5-6 years ago. And my background's in hunter jumpers. My background with Stella is show jumping. And she's just my heart horse. Again, I've had her for so long, and we're currently taking a little bit of time off, rehabbing. She's dealing with some navicular issues. So kind of getting that figured out and hoping to bring her back into work relatively soon.
Excellent. I enjoy hearing the history because we share a bit of that also from outside Chicago, and I lived in the city, but I did have a horse and it was a very long drive to get out to him. Yeah. And you're probably pretty close to where Raquel lives. So you guys should connect and go on a trail ride. I don't know horse when she's sound, but that would be fun. But so the other thing I'm thinking about is I'm wondering how you got interested in nutrition in the first place. And part of the reason that I'm curious about this is I feel like sometimes I am more immersed in making sure that my horse has his alfalfa because he tends to have ulcers, and doing the supplements, and obviously he gets the body work and that, and it's like, wait, maybe I should pay as much attention to my own nutrition and health. So how did you get interested in it in the first place? And then we'll dive into the work that you do with equestrian. Yeah,
so I've always been a foodie. I've I mean, I grew up very lucky to grow up in a household and a family that loved to cook, from my parents to my grandparents. So I was just always surrounded by really good food. And I worked in restaurants as well from high school through grad school. So I was just always immersed in the food scene. In high school, I started to become more interested in really understanding the impact that, nutrients and the different components of food has for us and our bodies beyond just the enjoyment factor of it. And so it was at that time where, blogs really kind of exploded, and I was going down all the nutrition, health, wellness rabbit holes. And within my, friend group in high school, I was kind of the nutrition expert, if you will. And my friends and my family came to me for nutrition advice, which looking back on, I'm just like a little cringy. But so at that point, I didn't realize it at the time, but I think it kind of developed into more of an extreme fixation on it. So it grew from something that was an interest and that I was really, learning more about, to starting to, watch my portions and count calories and macros, and kind of took it a little bit too far. Of course, at the time, I didn't realize, that it wasn't a healthy approach to eating, but of course, looking back, I do. And so that extreme interest in nutrition starting in high school is what led me to wanting to pursue it within my career, and becoming even more, understanding about the impact that, different foods have on our physical health. The more I've done this, the more I also looking into the impact that foods and just our approach to eating has on mental health as well. And, as far as my work that I do today, combining my interests and my passions with horses and nutrition really led to, what I do now, and really focusing on sports nutrition and all of that for equestrians.
And, this is kind of the time of year where I feel like a number of people, well, myself included, yes. I think I have a pretty healthy diet, but I would like to increase my vegetable intake this year. But do you have any tips for people, not like a rigid thing, but, if you could add more of this into your diet or think about food in this way, what are some things that would be helpful for our listeners going into this new year?
Yeah. So this might be somewhat of a longer answer, but the best way I like to describe and visualize, have clients and just anyone visualize this, is thinking about it from a pyramid. So at the base of the pyramid, nutritional adequacy is really important. So, asking yourself and making sure that you're eating enough, are you fueling your body in a way that it needs to support your level of physical activity? The next step up, looking at balance. So, if you zoom out and look at over the course of a week, do most meals have carbs and protein and fat and color in the form of fruits and vegetables? And then you can kind of get strategic. And then that's where we start to move up in that pyramid and look at, nutrient and meal timing. So eating in a way that is going to allow food to be more, effective in allowing you to enhance performance and recovery, for example. And then at the very top, adding in like supplements to really enhance health, performance, et cetera. And then at the very foundation that pyramid sits in is having a healthy relationship with food, because if you don't have that, it's going to be really difficult to meet all of the other things that are in that pyramid. So something that, I've been talking a lot this week with my clients about has been just building awareness around what pieces of that pyramid need, the most attention, and kind of starting at the bottom and working your way up so that you do have a really strong foundation and you're setting yourself up for, long-term success, rather than doing something all the way for 2 weeks and then kind of hitting a wall and falling back to square one.
I think that's great advice, because I would say a lot of times, and I'm sure people will do like kind of the crash diet where it's like they're so rigid and they're like, oh, I don't do this, I don't do that. And I'm like, ever? And then eventually they break down and they go back to maybe eating worse than they started because they were so strict. And I'm guilty. How do I know about that? Like, because I've been there, done that. But yeah, That's true.
What you said something earlier too, Natalie, and you said something about meal timing. And by that, I have a friend right now who is trying really hard to not eat after a certain time in the evening and then waiting to eat breakfast in the morning after a certain time. So is that what you're talking about with meal timing? Like kind of this idea of having a mini fast, or is it more like timing it with an activity you're doing or all of the above?
No, that's a really good question. So when I talk about meal timing, I am referring to timing it around an activity piece. So for example, I kind of break it down as far as the building. I call them performance plates. A lot of sports dietitians call them performance plates, where you're looking in advance at the type of physical activity you're going to be doing. So if it's something that is going to last a long time, is really high endurance, are you making sure that your meal before is including enough of a certain, including enough carbs, because that's our energy? Is it eaten within a certain period of time so that your body has enough time to break down that food and use it as energy, so that you're not also maybe eating too close to your physical activity and then ending up with like gastrointestinal distress, which is a common thing I hear. So more so shifting it around, again, the physical activity piece. And on the backside of that, making sure that after a long bout of physical activity, or if you're feeling hungry, that you're refueling and re-nourishing your body to kind of make up for what it used during that physical activity.
And when you said pyramid earlier, I have to confess, I thought you were going to bust out the pyramid that I learned in elementary school. And it occurred to me, like, do people still use that food pyramid with like the fruits and vegetables and grains and dairy? Is that like passe? Is that out of style, or is it proven invalid?
So that's actually been replaced with something called MyPlate. And so it's just kind of a different way to visualize that. And MyPlate is essentially a very generic way to think about, the different components on your plate. So with this, it's, for example, half your plate fruits and vegetables, quarter of your plate carbs, quarter of your plate protein, because athletes have different physical activity need and nutrient needs because of increased physical activity levels. The components around that plate will kind of shift around depending on, for example, long, an endurance rider, or if somebody is also training for a marathon or something like that, half of the plate can be carb and a quarter can be protein and a quarter can be color. And that's also where that nutrient timing comes into play. And it's very nuanced and specific depending on the rider, but that the food pyramid is definitely out of style. We don't use
Okay.
And I always like to also just, tell anyone I work with that it's kind of a loose, it's a suggestion, and, really checking in with yourself and asking yourself how you're feeling, what you need more of to feel satisfied and things like that, so that you're not turning that plate into something that becomes like a rigid rule, for example, which this time of the year, it could be very easy to do.
I have another question that is going back to when I commuted a very long way to see my horse and was working full time, as I know a lot of riders who don't have their horses in their backyard like Raquel does, it's tough to meal prep. I just, before we started recording, I'm in the middle of making a soup. So I was chopping all these vegetables and I like it, but I'm thinking, man, this sure takes a lot of time. So I know fast food is a thing that some of us have had to rely on, in order to just be able to make it out to the barn before a lesson or, before it closes in the evenings and that kind of thing. So maybe can you help us think of better options, or maybe alleviate some of the stress and guilt if it's not so bad? I would love to hear your thoughts on fast food.
For sure. Yeah. So I guess tying back to the non-diet piece, a lot of that is really taking the morality and the labels away from describing food as, good and bad, so that we can kind of help alleviate the stress and guilt around it. And going back to the pyramid, that first thing being, are you eating enough? So if fast food is your only option and it's either that or nothing, it's energy. It's still going to nourish your body. And so it's perfectly fine to have. It still breaks down and gives your body the energy that it needs. If, again, taking into account, just asking yourself how you feel, with certain foods. How are you feeling after you have, whatever it may be, going through the drive-through? If you feel great, awesome, right? There's no black and white to any of this. If you aren't feeling great and you think maybe something else will help you feel better, that's where you can, also kind of plan ahead and maybe carry a cooler in your car, or take, an extra lunch bag on your way to work, and have, some extra things in there that you can take with you to have between your commute. Or you could do both. Really everybody is so different, and whatever is going to be as, create the least amount of stress as possible, and so that you can go and enjoy your horse and have the energy to do that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's okay if that's what you need to do. And if that's not what you want or need to do, planning ahead is okay too, or again, doing a combination of both.
And let's hear more about the work that you are doing specifically with equestrians. So are these people that are like high-level Grand Prix jumpers or dressage riders, or is it like your everyday kind of person who is just a very active horse person, or both?
Yeah, so I work with both. I work with adult amateurs. I work with kids and teenagers, junior riders as well, from all levels. People who are just pleasure riders, all the way to people who are traveling for, to all the big shows in the Grand Prix. And the work that I do, again, is focusing on the non-diet piece, is really focusing on enhancing performance, allowing people to learn how to eat in a way that really helps them, increase energy levels, reduce fatigue, reduce cramping. We bring the nutrient timing into play so that we, will create kind of flexible eating schedules depending on shows or travel or, schooling rides or whatever it may be at the barn. As far as my approach with riders, it is, again, not focusing on dieting, not focusing on any specific rules, which can leave a lot of riders feeling kind of unsure, or they don't have the safety net that maybe once had with a traditional diet program. So the approach that I use it's called intuitive eating. And it's a strategic way that allows riders to really learn how to eat in a way that fuels their body, nourishes them, without needing to subscribe to, different diets or food rules out there.
All right. Well, what would you say if someone wants to maybe connect with you? Do they have to live in Los Angeles, or do you do any kind of online consultation? And then where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm mostly on Instagram. My handles at the.equestrian.dietitian. Since COVID, all of my work has really been virtual. So I work with clients one-on-one to do sports nutrition coaching, intuitive eating coaching. I'm currently running a group coaching program a couple times a year. And I have a self-paced course for people that just don't have the time or aren't ready to quite commit to a coaching program. So it's an online pre-recorded course. And I'm hoping to get back to some in-person nutrition clinics at barns in the LA area this year.
Awesome. So Instagram is the place to find you, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for you in 2023.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Natalie. Great talking to you.
It's not easy being a cowgirl, but a little magic helps. No matter if you're a horse trainer, photographer, mother, secretary, or athlete, Cowgirl Magic Hand Cream is here to add a hint of the lush life to any active, hardworking lifestyle. The new Cowgirl Magic Ultra Hydrating Cream is luxurious, rejuvenating, and clean, complemented by a light, soothing fragrance. Formulated with a blend of coconut, apricot, avocado, sesame, and olive oil, this age-defying formula works hard to deeply hydrate, restore, and fight the appearance of wrinkles as it absorbs quickly with no residue or greasy feel. From the makers of Cowboy Magic, Straight Arrow is proud to present this age-defying moisturizer, new to Cowboy Magic's line of products, adding a cowgirl's touch.
The ASPCA's Right Horse Initiative brings us this month's Adoptable Horse of the Month.
The ASPCA is focused on massively increasing horse adoption in the United States. The ASPCA Right Horse program hosts a collective of equine shelters and rescues across the country, as well as industry professionals and advocates who work together to reframe the conversation around equine adoption. In collaboration with over 100 industry and adoption partners, the program has launched innovative programming focused on shattering the stigma surrounding adoptable horses. They are committed to reaching potential horse adopters through their online adoption platform, My Right Horse.
Today, we're chatting with Jennifer Wittig with the American Saddlebred Legacy Foundation. This month's adoptable horse is I'm a Designer, aka Joey. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hello.
Thanks so much for coming on and talking to us about Joey.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So I see that Joey is a saddlebred. So can you tell us a little bit about him and who might be a good fit to adopt him?
Sure. So Joey is an 8-year-old saddlebred gelding. He actually started off in kind of traditional saddle seat style training, but he wasn't really suited for that. Had gone through a few different types of homes and handlers and ended up at being at risk. We found him at an auction and decided to repurpose him. Retrain basically is kind of how we start off, just trying out where they are, what they can do. He needs the type of person that he's a one-person horse. So he needs to be with one person that enjoys that relationship part. The training piece of him, the riding piece is not bad. It's just the groundwork is can be a struggle because he has some anxiety issues. So he really needs to trust his handler, and he needs to also be comfortable in his surroundings.
Yeah. So we're looking for someone who's really patient with him then.
Very patient. He's a very sensitive horse. Typical saddlebred. He's very willing, curious, people-oriented. He wants to make you happy, but he just needs to understand and have some buy-in to why he's doing it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Can you let us know how people can apply to adopt Joey?
Sure. So he is listed on myrighthorse.org, and we have a couple options there. They can inquire about adopting or apply to foster. We're pretty low barrier, so a lot of our placements start with a relationship, and so we keep in touch and make sure we make a good match. And then also we're there, obviously on the back end if something doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's great. Tell us a little bit about that process. Do you do like a meet and greet? Is there an application first?
So typically, like I said, it's pretty low barrier. We would reach out, someone would reach out to us either through the webpage or through our social media, and then myself or I have another person on our board that helps us. Her name's Deanna, would reach out. And again, it just starts with that conversation. Like, what are your real expectations? How fast do you want the horse to do your expectations? All of those kinds of things. And if we feel like through that conversation, if we feel like we need to have additional ones, we will, or we'll say, maybe this isn't the best match, but this horse might be. From there, we try to encourage people to do a farm visit. It just depends, obviously, on location, but we have had people come all the way from Canada. So, adopters that are serious and interested, typically, they shine through pretty quickly, and we work with them pretty well and can move the process right along. But other than that, we try to exchange videos, get videos of anything the adopter might want to see, and just work through that process with them until we get to the point of, making a decision on final placement.
That's great.
Jennifer, I have a quick question for you. And I am a thoroughbred person, so I know all about horses, and I have never adopted a saddlebred, but I have adopted a rescue Doberman in the past. And I know that sometimes the agency said that certain dogs needed like Doberman experience. So is Joey the type of horse that it would really benefit for someone to have saddlebred experience, working with that breed, or is it just a general maybe experience with horses that are more on the sensitive side?
Yeah, he needs just a good horse handler. And unfortunately, we have seen, a decrease in that over the years, where we just have a lot of people that show up that don't have a lot of true horse experience or desire to have that. And they don't need to have that, for most of our horses. But his quirks are not really related to his breed at all. They're just related to maltreatment from his situations he's been in. So if anybody has experience with that, then he would be a good fit. He's kind of like a puzzle, and he does give you a lot of reward and feedback, when you get the piece right. And so it's got to be someone that's just super interested, like I said, in that long-term relationship. He's just had so many different homes and situations that I think he's just kind of like a foster kid, where he's just been, he's just not sure where his place is. So him getting feeling super confident in, the relationship and the location that he is makes him into a totally different horse.
Yeah. Well, he looks like a cutie. I'm looking at his photo right now online, and we will include the link to adopt him in the show notes, but he's a cute little bay horse, and we really hope he finds a great home.
Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks for being on today, and hope you have a happy new year.
Thanks, Jennifer.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
For Joey, New Year's wishes that he gets a person of his very own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You can listen to all of our past episodes at horseillustrated.com/podcast. And for a special subscription discount just for podcast listeners on Horse Illustrated or Young Rider magazines, visit horseillustrated.com/barnbanter. Thanks for listening. See you next time.